So guys, welcome to week 10 of the NFL. This week we have a huge tournament, a 4K 250,000 NLC2 guaranteed tournament. First place gets $1,000, which is 67,000 No Limit coin as the top prize. This is the biggest tournament yet. The payouts just keep getting bigger and bigger every week, so make sure and jump in on this weekly tournaments because they're getting crazy. So let's get to my pro versus pro picks for this week. This week I go up against Sturfleas. We both share the same record of 5-4. Last week I got my ass kicked by JB the Great. Congratulations, man. It was by a fraction of a point. Makes it hurt even more, but it is what it is. You just gotta move on from that. So up next is Sturfleas now, and they're gonna be my picks for the week. I'm going to build a lineup with you guys from scratch and tell you why I picked these players and also help you out with the other picks so you can help finalize your lineups for tomorrow. This video came out a little bit more later than it should have. I got pretty busy throughout the week, so better late than never. So let's get started. This week on quarterback, I was trying to pay down like always. The only guys that interested me were Baker Mayfield. If he's going to have any shootout game, a big game this year, it's going to be here against Atlanta. If he is unable to do it here, I don't see Baker Mayfield having that big game for the year anymore. So I didn't end up opting going for him, but if you want to give him a try, it's not a bad pick at 5,400. Cheaper than that, Blake Bortles could be risky, but against Indianapolis, he might just go off and have a ceiling game this week. You never know with that guy. I wouldn't risk him in a cash lineup though. Josh Rosen could be interesting here. I was kind of going with him at first, but this is a game where Kansas City is obviously going to have a huge lead early on, so Kansas City is going to have to be playing from behind. They're going to have to be throwing like crazy, and now with this new offensive coordinator, maybe they're starting to fix things up in that offense, start getting David Johnson playing the way he's supposed to, start getting him some more targets, and it could only benefit him and the whole team. Start getting some more yards in offense, and hopefully they can stay consistent with them, which would put Josh Rosen up for a big yardage game with a lot of completions if he doesn't have a shitty game like he usually does. But if he pulls it off, he could have the biggest week yet, and I don't know why, but I'm gonna give you guys the my crazy gut feeling for the day, the just that crazy feeling I get, and the big upset of this week is gonna be Cardinals upset Kansas City this week. It's not gonna be a blog game. It's gonna be a close one. It's gonna come down to the final seconds of the game, but I just have a feeling that Arizona is gonna take this one for the upset, and if things go the way I think they're going to go, man, I could probably end up winning my tournament lineup because of that. But again, that's more of a tournament lineup if you want to go that route. It would be too risky for cash. The cheapest quarterback you could go that could be interesting. I don't know so much about cash, but tournaments, Josh McCown coming back now. Last year, I believe it was week 10 or week 12, week 13, I played him. I remember this guy hit pay dirt for me. I won big that week because of him. So Josh McCown is really not that bad, but on that game he did score 2 touchdowns himself. He ran him into the end zone himself, so that helped a lot. I don't know if it's very possible for him to do the same against Buffalo. So it could be risky, but those are your cheapest quarterbacks. And of course, all the guys up here on top, you can't go wrong with none of them. Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Matt Ryan. But the guy I ended up opting with, since I had some leftover salary, it kind of allowed me to pay up. Matt Ryan, that's the guy I'm going with. It's going to be Matt Ryan. Just has a great floor, high floor, high ceiling. You know, he can give you 43 points one week, and on a bad game, he'll give you 22 or 14. First week against Philadelphia was his worst game, but other than that, man, he's up there in the 30s, 20s. So against the Browns, I see him putting up a lot of yards here. a lot of touchdowns. He should have a great week. It's got a safe quarterback for your cash games. Jared Goff, another safe one against Seattle. Phillip Rivers can also be great. The only thing I'm scared of with Phillip Rivers is that they go off early into the game, and by halftime they're 31-0, and then they end up pulling him out of the game and Melvin Gordon as well. So there's that risk there, but you never know. Maybe Oakland pulls their head out of their ass and starts playing a good game, and they play catch up real well, and you never know. But there's that risk there. Tom Brady against Tennessee. Depends how Tennessee's defense plays, but Tom Brady's always solid though. Not too big of a ceiling though, because they always go with the running backs in the end zone, so he doesn't get those pass touchdowns points. Ryan Fitzpatrick, a great GPP play last week. I was one of the very few on him for my cash lineups, and he ended up doing pretty good. It was just my expensive guys that didn't come through, like Adam Thielen and Kyle Rudolph, who I thought was going to be great with the Stephon Diggs being out, but that didn't work out. And then he had that reverse touchdown at the beginning of the game, which really sucked, but it is what it is. Anyways, that's your quarterbacks there. Moving on to running back. Todd Gurley, like always, just a plug and play. Last week he had his worst game of the season. And by worst game, I mean 19.9 points. 20 points is his worst game, so I'm plugging him in. That's not scaring me. Paying up at running back, so I went with Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon, and Dion Lewis. Dion Lewis has been getting a lot more. He's finally being played the way he should be played at Tennessee. Derrick Henry, they finally realized how much he sucks, so now Dion Lewis is taking over that role. He's getting most of the bigger workload now, and also some action in the receiving game, which I really like. And he's finally putting up those 20-plus games. There's that revenge narrative with the Patriots, but I don't buy that revenge narrative crap. But he should still have a great game here. Patriots are not too great against stopping the run, and Dion Lewis knows that defense well, so he might know how to avoid them better, so that could always help there. So that's why I went with Dion Lewis as my third running back for the week. That's my trio of running backs for this week. As always, wide receiver had all the value, but I'll go through all the rest of the... Let me just check something real quick here. Yeah. Okay, so Alvin Kamara should have another great game. Kareem Hunt should be solid as well. Joe Mixon is... Gio Bernard, I believe, is coming back, so it kind of could bring down the value of Mixon a bit, but you also got AJ Green out, so that should even out his production there. I still don't see CJ Osuma getting much more action. So it'll be shared between Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, and probably Gio Bernard. Osuma might get 2-3 targets tops, and you just gotta pray that those 2-3 targets, one of them is in the end zone and he gets a touchdown, because it's the only way he's gonna pay off his price tag. But that's the risk involved there. James White, I believe Sony Michel's coming back now, so that could hurt him a bit. David Johnson, I think he's gonna have a great week now that they're finally gonna start utilizing them the right way. So if it starts getting used more in the receiving game and just getting more than 20-25 touches per game, he should be pretty solid every week from here on. So hopefully that's the case for him for the rest of the season. Leonard Fournette coming back. You just never know with that guy. He might get injured again. Marlon Mack against Jacksonville defense. That's kind of tough there. Adrian Peterson had a bad week last week, but against the horrible Tampa Bay defense, he could do alright. But then again, that Washington offensive line is pretty banged up, and most of the Washington team, so there's that yin-yang there between them. It's risky in my opinion. I won't be having much Adrian Peterson anywhere. Nick Chubb, should do okay. I see Duke Johnson taking the show from him in a favorable Atlanta matchup. Duke Johnson's gonna have I think more productivity and more yardage in the passing game, and I see him outdoing Nick Chubb this week. So if you're gonna go with a Browns running back, I would go with Duke Johnson. But Nick Chubb could be the one this week too. You never know. Tyreek Cohen against Detroit, that could be solid. Tevin Coleman had a great week last week, but I don't see that happening again. I just see him going back to what he's used to right here. Last week they used him a lot more in the receiving game, which helped them out a lot, 68 yards, and then he got 2 touchdowns. I don't see him getting 2 touchdowns again this week, so I wouldn't go points chasing with him this week. I think there's better options. And they have a lot of weapons in that offense. They got Julio Jones, which I think is going to have a great game this week, as well as all the rest of the guys. Sanu, Kevin Ridley, even Austin Hooper might get a few targets in there, so they should do alright against Cleveland. Sonny Michel should be alright. Kenyon Drake, Aaron Jones, the hometown hero, Aaron Jones from El Paso, Texas. I'm going to be having a whole lot of him in my GPP lineups. He could be great for cash too. He's finally starting to be utilized again a lot in the offense. He's the one taking the major role now. So Aaron Jones, I have a feeling he's gonna have the best week this week against the weak Miami defense. And Duke Johnson, of course, is pretty solid here. I think he's gonna do pretty good. Last week I had him in a few of my tournament lineups, and that paid off real good. But unfortunately, I didn't match him up with the appropriate players, and it didn't pay off that well for me. But Duke Johnson was a great pick last week, and I'm sure he will be this week as well. Jordan Howard, the hell with him. Kerryon Johnson, I don't think he's gonna do crap. Chris Carson, I believe, is still out till this moment. I'm not sure. But if he is, Mike Davis becomes interesting. Who else? Isaiah Crowell, maybe. Austin Eckler could be big if Melvin Gordon gets pulled out early from the game because of the blowout potential. But you never know. Edo Smith, maybe. The cheapest running back that interests me is Elijah McGuire. At 3,400, there's potential for him that he might, if he gets a touchdown and just breaks free 1 or 2 plays against the horrible Bills, he could end up getting 20 points also. Could be an interesting tournament pick there. Putting him in there would allow you to pay up for the expensive guys, so it could work out if he ends up having a great game. So let's move on to wide receivers. Starting out, Julio Jones should be great this week. I found a lot of value in wide receiver this week, so I'm paying down. But I'll go through all the expensive guys. Michael Thomas, a solid play. Last week he was huge. 41 freaking points. 44 freaking points. What more do you want out of him? Devontae Adams, always a solid pick. Randall Cobb was questionable yesterday, so Allison is out, I believe. So Devontae Adams and MVS should feed on this game. AJ Green out. Tyler Boyd has me a bit worried. I understand the hype behind him right now since AJ Green is out. Obviously, he's the only go-to guy now, but what if the Saints double team this guy the whole game, or just have him fully protected and make it hard for him to get the ball, since they know he's the only legit guy to catch the ball on that team. So if they cover him well throughout the whole game and pretty much limit him to only 2-3 catches the whole freaking game, then it might end up affecting him, and maybe somebody like John Ross and Joe Mixon or even Osuma might end up hitting pay dirt for you instead of Boyd. So, but then again, there's a potential that Tyler Boyd just breaks free from all those from everyone covering him, and he does end up having the big game that he does. So I'm kind of iffy about him. I don't know. It could be risky or it could pay off. So I'm going to have some Tyler Boyd in my tournament lineups and not too much because there is that risk as well. Tyreek Hill, I think, is going to go off this week against Arizona. He should go for another... He's going to go off for a long touchdown, and he should be back up there to a 20-plus fantasy points for this week. I just have that feeling. Keenan Allen finally went back to the Keenan Allen we're used to. 124 yards, 6 receptions, put up 24 points. Keenan Allen seems to be a second half of the season guy. Usually last year's second half of the season, that's when he really went off. So hopefully he continues that trend for the rest of the year, and I'll be keeping an eye on him. But this week I'm not going too big on him. Mike Evans got shut down last week. Maybe he comes back this week. I believe Josh Norman's going to be on him, so that could be another shutdown week for him. You never know. And then the Rams receivers, the only one I would go with is Cooper Kupp. He's the safest one. Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, it's a coin toss up there at this point. My boy Jarvis Landry just hasn't been doing it as of lately. He's still getting the targets, but he's only catching 50% of them. So what good does that do you to have so many targets if you're not catching most of them, and then they're not getting to the end zone too much? So he's losing out on that touchdown potential as well. So if he's going to have a great game, it's going to be this week against Atlanta. So Atlanta struggles in the middle of the field, and that's where Jarvis Landry tends to shine. So if he's going to have a big week, it's going to be this week. If not, well, we'll see. Josh Gordon, I believe, is going to have another great week. The Patriots offense is finally starting to utilize him a lot. I believe he got about 10 targets last week. Caught 5. I might be wrong on that. I don't remember. T.Y. Hilton against Jacksonville. That could be tough. Larry Fitzgerald, I feel, is going to have another great week. They're finally getting the ball to his hands a lot more, feeding him more targets. So Larry Fitzgerald is a freaking beast when you feed him the ball, so don't sleep out on him. This is a guy that helped me get first, second, and third place 2 weeks ago, so sure as hell going back to him this week. Sammy Watkins was questionable. I haven't kept up with him. Sanu, MVS, another great pick here. I think he's going to have another great week. A-Rob coming back for Chicago. That could be interesting. Christian Kirk should see decent targets as well. Deshaun Jackson got shut down last week also. I see him having a hell of a week this week, even over Mike Evans. Evans is going to be well protected with Norman. So Deshaun Jackson, I think, is the one that's going to break free. He's going to be catching a couple of those big time passes from Fitzpatrick, and he's going to go out for a huge game. Definitely going to have a lot of Deshaun in this week. He burned me last week, but I'm going back to him this week. And everyone else down here, everyone talking about Tyrell Williams. Well, he needs to catch those long passes in order and score a touchdown in order to pay off his price tag. He's very capable of doing it. Is he going to do it, though? We'll see. Adam Humphries, 3,900. That's one of the guys I ended up going with. 3,900 was a pretty sweet spot this week. A lot of great picks here at the 3,900. So Adam Humphries, for the last 2 weeks, has been getting crazy amount of targets. He caught 8 last week and 7 the week before, giving him 28-14, and he's been pretty decent floor for the last 4 or 5 weeks. So maybe he keeps it up again this coming week if Deshaun Jackson gets shut down as well as Mike Evans. But for 3,900 for a guy that's getting about 10 targets, we got 10 targets last week. Boom. I want some of that. And then you got David Moore with all the injuries in Seattle. He could have a great week this week, but the guy I'm trusting is Maurice Harris. Washington. Like I say, Washington has a bunch of banged up players right now. And offense, defense, that team is crumbling down. So The only guy they might have left to trust is this guy right here. Last week he received 10 for 124, put up 25 points. So this week, if Crowder is out, which I'm still not sure if he's fully out yet or not, but if he is, I love him even more. Maurice Harris, 3,900 for a guy that's going to give you 10 targets. Give me some of that. And then tight end is just freaking ugly like every goddamn week. So I just ended up paying up here. I went Travis Kelce, which doesn't excite me that much either, to be honest, because Arizona is very good against the tight end. But then again, I looked up the teams they've gone up against, and they haven't really gone up against any great tight ends. The best tight end they've gone up against is George Kittle, which put up 5 receptions per game, no touchdowns, but had pretty damn good games against them. All the other tight ends were from Seattle and shitty teams that just can't do worth a crap on tight ends. So I trust Travis Kelce should do pretty damn good against them. So I'm just going to go to the high target guy that's guaranteed to give me points and not a big fat zero like a lot of this other guys might. So I paid up for Kelce. OJ Howard should be a solid play too. Fitzpatrick does look his way a lot, and he's used in the end zone a lot. Put up 2 touchdowns last week, 1 the week before. So OJ Howard's always solid. Jared Cook is Jared Cook. Jimmy Graham is 2 touchdown dependent, and 1 week he'll do great, the others he'll just catch 1 pass. So I don't know. Even with the great matchup they have now, I will have some of him in tournaments, but not too much. Jordan Reed with Washington banged up. Maybe Alex Smith looks towards Jordan Reed and Vernon Davis more. Jack Doyle against Jacksonville. This one's interesting because I know Andy Dalton does love Jack Doyle, but is Jacksonville going to do a good job at protecting him? It could be risky. And then Njoku just hasn't been getting the same number of targets he's been used to. And now with Duke Johnson being the check down guy for Baker Mayfield, I think that's taken away a lot of the check down receptions that Njoku was getting. So it could be risky there too now. So as long as he's utilized in the red zone, it could pay off. But it's starting to get bad for him now. Trey Burton, Austin Hooper is all over the place in variance. CJ Azuma, like I said, maybe gets 2-3 passes, but it's going to come down to him being used in the red zone and catching a touchdown for him to pay off his price tag. It's asking too much of him. I'm staying away from him again. Benjamin Watson could be interesting. He does get used in the red zone, but only gets 3, 6, 4 receptions. So in a way, he is touchdown dependent as well. Chris Herndon has been doing all right, but also touchdown dependent. And now with McCown, maybe he'll look his way more and maybe produces better, or maybe he won't look at him once. I don't know. It's risky there. Anyone cheaper than this? Man, I don't know. Maybe Ricky Seals-Jones if that offense really steps it up. I don't know. Could be risky, but yeah, tight end is just freaking ugly. Kicker, same kicker I get every freaking week. Zerline against Seattle. Should have a great one. Other great kickers you could go with, always Adam Vinatieri. He's always great. Will Lutz in a high-scoring game versus Cincinnati. Should do good. Stefan Gostkowski should be another great kicker. Harrison Butker, that's another great one. Defense, you can go Chicago Bears. I believe Khalil Mack is finally coming back now. So with Khalil Mack, now I'm really excited about Chicago Bears defense. So I'm paying up for them as much as I can. This week I was unable to, so I went with the Chargers going up against Oakland. I see them shutting down Oakland pretty bad, getting some sacks, interceptions, pick sixes, all that. Chargers should have a great week. And the Chiefs against Arizona, I don't know, because like I said, I see Arizona upsetting Kansas City. I don't know why, just get that crazy gut feeling. I'm usually right about those gut feelings. Buffalo versus New York Jets. Nah. Green Bay versus Miami. That's a good one. Redskins versus Tampa Bay. Jacksonville versus Indianapolis. Could be good. The Rams versus Seattle. Got priced down pretty bad. Rams, last time they played Seattle, only got 1 point against them. So I don't know. That's why they're priced down so much. But I know Russell Wilson doesn't really get sacked much. So I don't know if that's the reason for the price down. But Rams, always a solid defense here. And for that price, you can't go wrong with that. Cardinals against Kansas City, if you believe that they will shut them down like I do. Other than that, that's my lineup for this week. So I have value on the wide receiver with Humphries and Harris, who both have 10 target potential. Travis Kelce, the most solid tight end you could get. Matt Ryan, a super safe quarterback. And the 3 running backs, which I think are going to kill it this week: Gurley, Melvin Gordon, and Dion Lewis. Melvin Gordon has me a little bit worried because I don't know if they're going to pull him out early from the game if that game gets too out of hand. But I'm putting that risk in. And then Chargers defense. And then Sturflee's lineup, real quick. He has Drew Brees, great quarterback pick. Put up 34 last week, so we'll see how he does this week. Tevin Coleman, like I think it's gonna go back to 16 or 11 points. I just don't see him getting another 32-point game this week. So Alvin Kamara, another great pick. Michael Thomas and Keenan Allen, 2 solid wide receivers. He paid up on wide receivers this week. Could be a good strategy. Cooper Kupp went 3 solid wide receivers. If my 3 running backs let me down and his 3 wide receivers go off, then I'm pretty much going to be screwed. Vernon Davis could be interesting with that banged up Washington Redskins defense. Then we got Will Lutz and the Patriots defense against the Titans. If Mariota starts throwing interceptions like crazy, then that's going to pay off. So not a bad lineup. So you guys can come in here, put your bets. Who do you think is going to win? And I'll try and win you guys some cash this week if you bet for me. So we'll see how things go. But yeah, come in here, get your bets in for the Pro versus Pro, and don't forget to enter that 4K tournament, because that's some huge payouts right there. So other than that, that's going to do it for this video. I'll see you guys later.